Welcome to The Starting Line, a look at interesting and thought-provoking bills that are introduced in the House. In today's world, college tuition is more expensive than ever before, and student loan debt is burdensome to many who choose to go to college. This week's highlighted bill would help prospective students keep down student loan debt in a couple of ways. Sponsored by Representative Erin Murphy, House File 21 calls for establishing a student loan ombudsperson and would require licensure of student loan servicers. We recently sat down with Representative Murphy to ask what exactly an ombudsperson is and what kind of assistance they would provide to a student loan borrower.
The bill essentially spells out the responsibilities for the ombudsperson or that office. One is to collect information and share it with us, but they are there to respond to complaints and concerns of the students. So they will need to let campuses know and work with campuses so that students get access to the information, that there is a person available to answer their questions. But then they also have to be available to answer the concerns and the complaints of students and then share that information back with us.
Can you tell me why you're sponsoring this bill and what issue does it address?
So I've been working now for a couple of years to find ways for us to reduce student debt or to help prospective students not incur so much debt. And as you look at the issue, and of course we've talked now a lot in Minnesota about the rate of student debt for young people getting done with school, or for people who have finished college and they're entering into the workforce. And it is a real burden for a lot of people. And it's limiting their choices when they think about starting families, the job that they want to pursue, buying a home, etc. So I think most people have agreed now that student debt and the burden of that is a problem for people. So now we're trying to figure out ways to address it. And last year we passed a piece of legislation signed into law called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And we're actually letting people know about something that's available through the federal government. And if after 10 years, if you've been paying your student loans in full and you are working in a public-oriented job, you can get the balance of your student loans forgiven. So I think an important measure to help people out. You have to be paying your debt in full for 10 years, but after that point, if you've been in that job, you can get the balance forgiven. And we did that last year. This year we're pursuing this idea about an ombudsperson. One thing that you may recall from your time in college, and certainly something I recall, is that I went with my father to borrow money. And I talked to somebody at the bank. It was somebody that we knew. And I knew that I wanted to go to school and my parents couldn't pay for it. So the only way for me to be able to go was to borrow money. I think there are lots of young people who believe they need to go to school and they need some financial help. And there aren't necessarily people that can help students guide their way through that process. And borrowing money is signing a contract of sorts, and you're on the hook for whatever you commit to. So we know that there are a lot of students have borrowed money from lots of different institutions. We want to make sure that students have good information to inform themselves about borrowing money ahead of time. That's why there's an education program embedded in this piece of legislation, but also an ombudsperson, somebody who's going to look out for the interests of the students, to take their complaints, and to compile information to help legislators make better decisions in the future.
We hear both locally and nationally about the difficulty people are having with the high cost of tuition rates. Is this bill designed to help these people?
It is. It is in part, I think, to help people as they're making decisions heading into school. And I think when you feel, you're young, you're getting done with high school, lots and lots of our parents, my parents did this, I bet your parents did too, urged me to go on to higher education. Lots of people go to our community and technical schools, or they go to our four-year colleges and universities. It is pretty important, I think, these days to have some higher education in order to participate in the workforce. Most jobs these days require some sort of higher education. So I think kids come through college believing that they should go to college, and they should, to a 2-year or 4-year school. And so by doing so, by making that commitment, then they have to find the means to pay. And that's where students are sometimes getting into trouble, borrowing money, not understanding necessarily what the rate is going to be of repayment, what their obligation is going to be. And we want to make sure we're intervening there early with good information so students are making a decent decision about their future right at the beginning.
Where do you see your bill going from here?
I was successful in getting the bill that I carried last year heard in higher education. I give a lot of credit to the chair, Rep. Nornis, and I will talk with him again about this idea. This one costs a little bit of money, so we'll see if I can find my way into the higher education bill. But I think for students and for future students, the people who want to go on to higher education, this is an important measure to make sure that they graduate, that they can pay their student loans, and they can get on with the living of the good life in Minnesota.
If you'd like to follow the progress of House File 21 or any bill that is introduced in the legislature, you can do that by visiting our website, www.house.mn, and choosing the Bill Search and Status option. Thanks for watching The Starting Line.